All right, welcome back, everybody. So your clients might have the wrong mortgage. It's time for a second look. Everything today is about let's get in touch with our clients, let's refresh them, introduce them to one of your great TD mortgage reps. Whatever it is, it's time to take a second look at where their mortgage is sitting and talk to your clients about the lending environment today. So let's talk about interest rates. That's what everyone's curious about, like what's happening with rates. So Bo, take us through some interesting things that's happening in interest rates right now.
Yeah, so it's been a long time since we've been down at 269, 260. I mean, I've seen some pretty crazy rates come through on some pretty large deals, obviously in Calgary. Every province is kind of set up from a rate differential perspective on how we can margin. But at the end of the day, we have a slide that we'll kind of share with you guys, which kind of gives it the idea. We play on bond yields.
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing. So what you can see on here is our bond yield rate. So we use the 5-year bond yield to give us a good indication on what our margins can be, margins being how much we make off a rate that we discount. And as they get lower, you can see that your rates will continue to drop. When you start to see a spike in bond yields, and you can kind of see here since September 2018, we had some high rates, right? And then as it continues to drop down to where we are now, I think the last time I looked is 1.36. Now we're sitting at a 1.36 5-year bond yield rate. It means we have some more margining. So that
less than a year, and it's a full point.
Yeah. So these rates, we can continue to do low rates. Now, this is the time where I say to people, is it the bottom? Might be. I mean, we're pretty close. I mean, the last rate I ever saw, which was as low as I ever saw it, was 239. And that was 5 or 6, 7 years ago, right? So yes. 269 is fantastic. We started at 269, as you can see here, about a month and a half ago, and then we shot all the way up to almost 3% here in July, and then we came down again. So as bond yields move, that really impacts our pricing. And so now is, like I said, best time to get in. Cash incentives, interest rates, like this is the time.
Interesting. Yeah. So now this brings up a very interesting question about variable versus fixed mortgages, because the standard practice lots of times has been pick the variable because the rate's always been lower. So Mario, talk to us a little bit about what's happening here.
Definitely. Even over the last 50 years, if you would have taken any 5-year period over the last 50 years, you would have noticed that the 5-year variable would have actually outperformed the 5-year fixed over a 5-year span.
50 years.
Yeah, that's what it was. If not even longer, might have even been pushing. That was my knowledge from 5 years ago, so call it 55, 60 years possibly. But for the first time that I've ever seen, and in quite some time, if not first time ever, we're actually seeing a bigger variance between the 5-year fixed and the 5-year variable. And the odd thing is the 5-year variable right now is actually higher than the 5-year fixed, which is a little unusual.
Yeah.
Typically, we're used to seeing the 5-year variable sitting lower than the 5-year fixed, and hence would entice more people to go into a 5-year variable, right?
So we got some numbers here.
Definitely.
So take us through this really quick, because on the left-hand side, we got our fixed rates.
So what we've done, left side is the fixed rates, right side is the variable rates. The assumptions we've made here is we are basing this on a $350,000 mortgage inside of the Calgary city limits.
Okay.
So just kind of like your average run-of-the-mill mortgage.
And what's the difference between the posted and the target?
Basically, the posted rate is just what you're going to see advertised on the internet. We only use that as a base rate. We always discount on those rates. So we'll never see somebody actually getting those rates. It's always going to be the discounted or the target rate, which is going to be all of our pricing. The target rate, you will notice, is going to be lower than what we actually advertise as our special offers on the website. So that's always nice to see. And the one thing you will notice between the 5-year fixed closed here, and this is assuming an uninsured mortgage. So assuming the 5-year fixed closed versus the 5-year variable here, we're seeing a 0.41% variance. So, I mean, it's not quite 0.5%, but it's not too far off.
Yeah. One
thing to also look at is when it is an insured mortgage, we can actually price down the 5-year fixed a little lower, down to 2.69.
Wow.
So when we factor that in, that's a 0.48% variance on the insured mortgages.
So you're talking
versus
0.5%, and which is a lot of money on it when you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. That's right.
Unbelievable. So we're saying in 50 years, we're delving, and we haven't seen a 5-year trend of this yet, but I'll tell you, this is uncharted territory.
That's right.
So here's the question: people with a fixed mortgage, or sorry, a variable rate now, should they be locking in? Should they be switching over to a fixed rate now? Tell us about the consideration. And I know it's like every single situation is different. I appreciate that, but what's the? And I know there's no blanket answer on this.
Right.
But what are some of the considerations? What are the conversations being had out there?
It's a two-sided coin, is the way I see it. I see it in the sense that when the variable rate's higher, it's pushing rates down. It's the bank is kind of enticing people to go into fixed rates. That would typically indicate that rates are going to be decreasing further. But seeing that we're already kind of, like Bo was saying, towards the bottom of the actual rate cycle and the rates that we've seen in the past, we're not far off from the absolute bottom we've seen. So if 2.69 is affordable, and if that's going to work for somebody with their budget, I would say go with the 5-year fixed, or even the 4-year fixed. That's pretty close to the same rate. So I think it's just whatever's comfortable for someone's monthly budget at this point.
Yeah, and I think the other factors we always look at is when you get into fixed, your penalties to get out are what we call an interest rate differential.
Right.
So a couple of years from now, if rates change, you can have a massive penalty.
Yeah, whereas, rates go down, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas if you had a variable, you're just 3 months interest. So every product is built for different people. I think we've always said that the government plays a big impact. So if the government decides to lower the prime rate, then your variable prime goes with it, right? So because we're sitting at a higher prime rate right now and we haven't moved, although the US government just made a change to their prime rate, which usually signals that if they're doing it, we're going to do it.
Yeah, yeah.
So we could be talking 2 months from now saying, oh, variable's back to where it should be. It's a nice low rate. Like I remember variable, I mean, I'd be people seeing at prime minus 0.3. We're at like 1.59, 1.6 at one time. It was amazing. But now we're seeing a bit of a different trend because we've never touched our prime rate. The Bank of Canada said, no, we're going to hold steady.
Yeah.
But the banks are saying we have some room to get people encouraged to buy, and so we want them to buy, hence why the fixed rates are better. And we hold those longer. We can then issue that money out and turn it into other things and so forth. So I think there's an opportunity. I don't have a crystal ball to say what's going to happen, but with rates being the way they're being, if you're not comfortable with a change in payment, fix is always the best way to go.
Yes, yes. That's right. So awesome. So obviously, payout penalties are a consideration.
Yeah.
My recommendation is always introduce them to a mortgage rep. Make sure that they have a conversation with a professional. You guys don't need to offer advice on mortgages or things like that. Leave that to the pros. However, initiating the conversation saying this is something worth looking at, like whatever when you're doing your real estate reviews, looking at the mortgages, whatever piece of it comprehensively about their real estate position, you want to be the go-to information person for everything that they have real estate. Often, this is why mortgage professionals are trying to meet realtors, because you guys are the first point of contact in a lot of cases.
Right.
So touching base with your clients, having a reason to reach out with these two changes, the home buyer incentives, which the divorce situation or the dissolution of a common law relationship or whatever we call it, but let's just call a spade a spade. I mean, practically that's 50% of the population in the next little while that could qualify for this in some respects. Sanctity of marriage, please not. Maybe hopefully that'll lower, but anyways, it's not just first-time home buyers, so the collective audience for this is bigger. So I would definitely be interested in that. Okay, so touch base opportunity. Now, really quickly before we move on here, tell us about all the great reps we have in our offices.
Yeah, no, so downtown we have Mario and Cara Hindecki. She's supporting the downtown office. In the north, we have Jesse Bilodeau, who's been around for 10 years, like forever, which is fantastic. And then we have a new rep starting, which is Ting Chen, who's now supporting up there as well.
Awesome.
In the east office, we have northeast office. We have Sonia, who's been there for a while, and we added Chenille. And then downtown is Albert right now. But we have, South. South, we have Albert already. He came back. He left and come back. And then Jennifer will be kind of added on a little bit later between her business. But we have 8 amazing reps. We figured 4 wasn't enough. Just based on the business we have and such an amazing relationship. Everybody's trying to get in. I'm not going to lie. Everybody's come to us. We could add 40 people to CIR if we wanted to, but we just don't think that's the right time. I think 8 is a good number, and we want to keep the relationships we have now, continue to build stronger, because we have such an amazing relationship with CIR. We want to maintain that. This is TD's strongest relationship in Prairie region, by far.
Awesome.
Above and beyond RE/MAX, Royal LePage, right? Like this is our bread and butter, and we want to continue to maintain this for
I'm not surprised.
And that's why we're here.
Just kidding. No, and this is so beneficial from the standpoint of, I recommend you guys have multiple relationships out there with mortgage professionals, like obviously, but speak to your TD crew, because I'll tell you, talking about these things, getting a sober second thought, a second opinion, the first opinion, a first touch base. There's so many collaboration opportunities to reach out, put together communication for your clients. And I'll tell you, we were just doing I was just doing a podcast for Area, and I said this stat again, and I'll never forget that. So leading real estate companies in the world company did this survey of the past 300 transactions they did, and they asked every one of their agents, where did the business come from? and they realized that 90% of the deals that were written in the last out of the last 300 deals were as a result of a recent interaction with the client. You sent out an email, you did a newsletter, you posted something on someone's wall on Facebook, you made a phone call, you had some reason to touch base with somebody, and as a result, a referral came from it, or a transaction came from it. You never know which one's going to be, but 90% of them came as a result of a most recent interaction, which is phenomenal. So having compelling information that we just shared with you guys today to pass off and then introduce them to one of the TD reps is priceless. Literally, it can make you thousands. And the beauty of I like it is that for you to make your money, you got to help a buyer or seller achieve their goals. And that's what's so beautiful about this business.
Yeah,
that's right.
So thank you guys so much for coming on. Bo, Mario, you guys are always provide some great information. Look for a lot more from our TD reps as we come up. Thank them when you see them at the events because they provide a lot of resources to help us hold these great events. So make sure you say hello and give them a good handshake. And other than that, thank you guys again, and we'll see you again in the future.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thanks, Lindsay.
You guys have a great week, and we'll see you guys again very soon.